Welcome to the Home Pro Podcast, your source for expert insights and practical tips from the leading minds in home services. Get ready to conquer your local market with your host and founder of Big Fish Local, Seth Evans.
Seth Evans here. I'm the host of the Home Pro Podcast, where we explore how digital marketing can empower home service professionals to become the big fish in their local pond. Join us for insights and strategies that drive growth and success. Today's episode is brought to you by Big Fish Local, your trusted partner in navigating the digital landscape. Our dedicated team specializes in creating impactful digital marketing strategies tailored to your business needs. From optimizing your website for search engines to enhancing your presence on social media, we are here to help you thrive in your local market. Discover the potential of your business with Big Fish Local's comprehensive marketing solutions. For more information on how we can boost your online visibility and drive growth, visit bigfishlocal.org. Before introducing today's guest, I want to give a big shout out to Mark Baer, who introduced me to Terry several years ago. So, Mark, if you're watching, thank you so much. Today, I'll be interviewing Terry Kuhl. He's the Vice President of Garber Electrical Contractors, Inc., and he brings a lot of experience in the industry as he's been with the company for over 40 years. So, Terry, welcome to the show.
Thanks. That kind of makes me look old, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know about that, but we'll do some tricks here with the camera to make us both look good. How does that sound?
That'll work.
Okay, good.
Okay, thanks,
Terry,
Seth. Thanks for having me on.
yes, absolutely. I'm really honored that you're joining us. To kind of kick things off, I was just wondering if you could share a little bit of your backstory, how you got started in this industry.
Sure. So I live out in the country, and my father was a plumber, and we had a neighbor that was an electrician, and he needed some help. And so he'd asked my father when I was 15 if I could work for him. And my dad, being a father and a parent, said, "No, I don't think that's a good idea yet." But he did let me the next year. So I started in summers, and then in high school, I went through a program where I could get out of school at 11 and go to work for him. And so we was working in the residential electrical market, and that's a time when electric heat was big. So, we're going back a ways, 40 years here. And worked with him, and then a couple of years later, come to Garber Electric, and I've been here ever since. Started in the field as an electrician and then a foreman, and then I became a field supervisor who was in charge of all the field operations. Went into sales at Garber about 20 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago, and worked my way up to vice president. No college, a little bit of tech school, not much, and just mostly on the job trainings. That's how I got here. It's been a long 45 years, 42 here.
That's awesome. How long, if you remember back then, how old of a company was Garber at that time?
So Garber started in 1975. That was Gary Garber. He was the founder, since retired. He worked with just a couple people through school, and I started in 1982. So there was, I think, 4 employees at that point.
Yeah.
And
What were those early days like for you as you were, the company that was just a few years old, really kind of coming into its own? What was that like?
So it was more, we did a lot of residential, a lot of agriculture, and some light commercial work. Obviously, there's a lot of things changed in the construction industry from the safety aspect. Software wasn't a player back then. It was just go to work, get the job done. You didn't wear fall protection, you didn't wear hard hats, you didn't wear safety glasses, you didn't wear hand protection. So a lot of things changed in that aspect, but it was, starting out, it was work a lot of hours, work really hard. Sometimes take on projects that you was maybe bigger than you should have taken on, and just you worked extra overtime. Back then, it wasn't abnormal to work, 55 or 60 hours a week if you needed to get the work done, because you didn't have a big, vast supply of manpower. So,
Yeah. So as the years have gone by and you look back over the last 40 plus years here in Garber, what are some of the big turning points for the company where, big milestones that you've noticed either the industry or that the company has kind of made a shift or a change?
The economy, two different times in those 40 years, interest rates went to 20%. We were wiring houses in 1980. Rates went to 20%. That shut the housing market down. So that was a little bit of a redirection towards the commercial work. But probably, we've slow, steady growth over those years. But in the 08, 09 era, whenever the economy got bad again, we relocated from our office in New Paris over to Dayton, Ohio. And we also changed our model from to more of a sales and operations. So in the past, we'd have the sales guy sell the job, and then he also was in charge of getting the project done. And so you sell it, you get really busy, so then you quit selling. And so that model kind of caused a zipper effect on workload. And so we changed it to a sales model. So the salespeople, and they don't like to be called the salespeople, but more relationship builders, but they sell all the time and then hand it off to operations. So that slowed the zipper effect down, and that created a actually massive growth on our end.
So tell me a little bit more about that part of it. How did the company implement that? And were there some hurdles in the midst of trying to make that shift that you guys had to overcome?
So it was kind of a natural. We decided to do it. It was kind of a natural progression. Some people, you had to decide because you had, a few leaders that did everything, and so you had to take and kind of divide them and put some of those leaders in the operations side and others in the sales side. And so we had to work through that. Who wanted to do what, who was good at what, and what worked naturally, and so it wasn't a big conflict. So it worked out pretty well. Now you just have operations people telling salespeople to quit selling so much because we're overbooked. And then you also have operations people telling salespeople, look, we're not busy enough. What do you have coming for us? So it creates dynamics both ways. There's a lot of companies that don't do it the way we do it. They still do it the other way, which was if you sell it, you install it. So there's differences of opinions about that. I promote this the way we're doing it. It's caused a lot of growth in our company.
It seems like having that the system that you all are following is a little bit more focused for each person. They have a pretty clearly defined role of what they're supposed to be doing and kind of how they're doing it.
Yeah, you don't have to be so you're strong. Everybody has strong points and maybe weaker points, and so you can concentrate. If somebody's good in sales, concentrate them in that area because they may be dynamic in sales and design and not dynamic in installation and project management. So you don't have to be so multi-talented, if you will. You can be more focused.
When we were talking before the interview officially started, you had mentioned that you believe that people are really the key to success. Tell me more about that. What leads you to that?
So it's our whole company is focused on our people, and we have some of the greatest people out there. I know we've even had competitors say that, wow, you guys really have a dynamic group of guys. They actually work harder than we ask them to. We sometimes have to say, hey, you need to back off and slow down. They're self-driven. They put a lot of pressure on themselves, and that just turns into success across the company. The people they're just good, solid people. Do things the right way, do what they say. They make a mistake, own up to it, fix it. It's not the mistake you make, it's how you repair it and how you fix it. And just building a reputation on that. And we try to drive a culture in the whole company that well, we have a purpose, vision, and mission, and those are drive the culture of professionalism, treat people right, treat people the way they want to be treated, and do it the right way. And if you keep doing that year after year after year, you'll build a culture and a reputation. And some of the people that don't apply to that, they don't end up staying around very long. And we've always said with people, give me attitude, and work ethic, and I'll teach you the rest. And that applies a lot. We've had a lot of people that one particular guy that come to work for us, Phil Peretta, years ago. He has since brought a lot of his friends over just because of the culture, and they're good people, and it really makes a difference in work and play. And we actually like to have a lot of fun around here. We work really hard. We have a lot of fun and goof off a little bit, but we need to once in a while.
You mentioned that the purpose and the mission and the values of the company are really important. How do you reinforce that with the team, and how do you ensure that everyone is kind of living that out?
So it's a little easier in the office than it is in the field because the office people see each other all the time. We've actually sent leadership, which when I say leadership, the executive managers and then people that supervise people. So that's about a group of 30 with our company. And we've utilized the Aileron campus that's over here in Vandalia. And if you're not familiar with it, people should Google that. It's a great organization that Clay Matile that sold I'm set up. And they do a lot of leadership classes. So we've been through 4 or 5 of those classes, and then we try to live it. So we have a list called living it and non-living it. And living it would be returning phone calls on a timely manner. Non-living it would be ignoring phone calls and emails. So, and we talk about those things on a regular basis. We even make fun of each other when we mess up. It's like, oh, you're not living it so much today, or your energy level is not where it's supposed to be. On a scale of 1 to 5. You have something bad happen and you might drop down, and we make fun of people. Well, you drop down to a 2 or 3, maybe you ought to elevate that. And we laugh at each other, but it's great. It's great information. It's, to learn, and everybody, even at my age, we can still learn things. The challenge is getting it all the way down to the newest person out in the field with the least experience. So we're continually working on that. We haven't got that totally figured out yet. But people watch what you do, and when they watch what you do and see how you operate, they learn from that. So,
Yeah, that's really good. I hear a lot of folks in the services industry, whether it's electrical or plumbing or roofing or any of those. I always hear how it's hard sometimes to find the right team members. That's often a something that's preventing growth. Maybe there's plenty of work to go around, but there are not enough people to take advantage of all of that work. What have you found have been some of the ways that you can really find great candidates and really train them once they are part of the team?
yeah, so we spend a lot of energy, obviously, with Big Fish, with our marketing um, that we're doing on different ads on social media now, with our website. We spend some money with Indeed, but the wheelhouse one is find it as people who know people, because it's really good to hire somebody when somebody knows them. So you're not guessing on attitude, you're not guessing on whether they're coming to work every day, you know what kind of person they are, you know what kind of ethics that they have. But those have kind of dried up. And I mentioned to you earlier that but the last 30 years people were sending people recommending everybody go to college. So, I have a lot of friends that went to college, their kids went to college, and they're graduating with a debt, and they're not working in the field they went to college for. And I don't think that's a wise decision. I mean, if you're going to be a doctor, you probably ought to go to college for 8 or 10 years. If you're going to work on me, I want you to go to college. But if you want to make a really good living, you can get in the trades, not just electrical, any of the trades, and make a really good living now. But the problem is there's a lot of work in the Dayton area, and we're out of tradespeople. And so we're spending a lot of effort bringing on people, give me attitude, give me a good attitude and a good work ethic, and we'll teach you the electrical. So we're spending a lot of energy in that area, with training people. We have a full-time trainer. Just yesterday, we was working on a fast track program to somebody that wants to become an electrician to get them in the door, and they don't even hit the job site for 3 weeks. They're just going to be nothing but training with hands-on with somebody that knows the electrical field. And so that's a challenge. We have to, as tradespeople, add people to the kitty, if you will. There's not enough out there right now. And especially in Ohio, if you're familiar or anybody's in Columbus, Intel's up there. Columbus is one of the fastest growing cities, and there's just so much need for tradespeople that's not trained, right? So we have to, as organizations, train them up. And so we're spending a lot of energy on that, a lot of time internally. There's a huge cost to it, but the bigger cost is not training them and not having them. Because if not, you just have to quit taking on more work. You're not going to grow. And if you're not growing, you're going backwards, in my opinion.
Yeah. Thinking about all of that and the history that you've had with the company, is there any pitfall or mistake that maybe was made any time that you've learned a lot from, either individually or that the company has been able to learn from and grow from?
I think I have a list somewhere.
Sure.
Probably well, from a project standpoint, not correctly estimating a project and losing money on a project. There's been two or three of those big ones in our company, and they were just mistakes that weren't double checked by somebody before an estimate went out the door, and those can hurt really bad. Those are hard to overcome. So I had a guy he's now deceased that I used to work with years ago, and we'd priced up some work for a guy, and the owner didn't want to do it. He thought it was too expensive. And this guy that's now passed on told me, he's like, "Well, Terry, if we're going to lose money, let's go out to my pond and go fishing. We don't need to go to work and lose money." So I think probably one of my recommendations is make sure that you get paid a fair price for what you do. You know, everybody needs to make a profit to make the world go around. Don't gouge people, but you don't want to lose money. So you need to cross check your quotes before they go out the door to make sure you have your costs covered. Especially with computers now, a couple keystrokes and you can really screw something up.
Do you have any systems in place to make sure there is that double checking that happens, especially on those bigger jobs that you're quoting out?
Yeah, so that's two sets of eyes. So an estimator will do it. Um, when we get a job in, that's the sales professional will bring it in and go over the job with the estimator. The estimator does the takeoff using our software. And then when it's done, we have what we call it the war room, but most contractors have one, call them war rooms, and they'll just dissect the project, look at all the estimate and the takeoff. And once they've decided that they have the accurate bill of materials and the accurate labor hours, then that's when they price the project. So um, usually the ones that you lose money on didn't get a second set of eyes. I used to laugh. I'd come in on a Saturday and estimate a project, be all happy when I went home, think it was great. I'd come in Monday and look at it myself, and I was like, "Well, I missed this. I screwed that up." So, second set of eyes is a great idea.
Yeah. I think that's really important. Even in our industry and in marketing, we find the same thing. There are really so many elements that are going to go into it that if you're not thinking about all of those elements and you miss something, like you said, that can really kind of mess up the whole process and
Right.
get your numbers all out of whack. So I love that
Or in
idea.
your case, a typo in one sentence could really change the intent of what you was trying to put out there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we've been through some of those things in the past, I imagine. So
Trust me, everybody in business is going to have some
yes.
downfalls of some kind.
It kind of one thing I heard you say that I really liked, though, is that you learn from those challenges and those mistakes and you grow through it. It's hard, it can really hurt sometimes in the midst of it, but then those moments are often what leads to the growth. Or okay, now we need to have a process where we have two sets of eyes on every estimate. Those kinds of learning experiences are hard, but they can be really, really good for a
Yeah, and
company.
it's much better. My leadership that I've had with Gary, who's now retired, and the current owner is, hey, it happened. We're going to stand behind what we said the price was going to be. We're going to do the project, but what did we learn from it? Nobody gets their hand slapped for it because, it's past tense at that point. So what can you learn from it moving forward?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that really speaks to the integrity of a company like Garber that really stands behind what they do, even in the midst of a painful experience. So,
Right.
on the opposite end of that, though, I know that Garber has had some really big success stories. You've had personally some. You probably look back and think of moments that you've been really proud of. Is there one like that that really stands out for you? A really a moment in your career with Garber that you're really proud of?
I think there's probably a, a few of them, but what excites me is to see. So what I'm doing now is I'm not involved in day-to-day operations, but to empower other people and get them trained up and see them succeed gets me excited. Everybody thinks that they do their job the best that they can, the best, and if I have to give it to somebody else, this they're not going to do it like I did it. But what I found out through the years is teach them everything that I know, and then watch them go be better than me, and that's really cool and exciting on my part to watch that because you're like, well, nobody can do it better than me, and then you watch them do it better, and that's super exciting to see projects that are maybe a little bit messy on the design end and see guys come up with good ideas that are a better solution for customers and more cost effective. That's a win-win for us and the customer. And um, that's that's probably my hot button is to see projects go together well, that the customer gets what they want. Because I don't want to offend the engineers out there, but sometimes they don't spend enough time with the customer to see what they really really needed. I
Yeah,
did just I did just offend the engineers that's listening, though, I think.
I do love what you said though. I think the same here. I had 10 years of web design experience going into this business, and then now we've been doing it as a company for another 9 on top of that. But our designers now, I just love, they're better than I ever was. Really, I mean they've surpassed my skill level and my creativity, and I just love that that you get to work with some folks like that.
I'm gonna go back, Seth, because you asked me a question a little earlier, so it's kind of the opposite of what you just asked me. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I also learned is whenever you have somebody that internally in your company that doesn't fit the culture, that becomes a cancer and that just spreads out. And so don't tolerate that. I would highly recommend whenever there's a cancer of some kind with being a person that doesn't fit, doesn't do things with your purpose, your vision, your mission, um, you don't want those people in your organization. So you need to move on faster, and which is something you asked me if I've learned something. You need to move on faster than what we tend to like people so well, and we want to keep giving them chance after chance after chance. And at some point, you find out that everybody around them is being drugged down because you're tolerating something. So what you tolerate, you accept as as the average, I guess.
I've talked to business owners in the past who've struggled with that exact same thing. And sometimes I've heard them say, well, I'm afraid to let them go or to move on because we don't have someone to replace them. And so even though they're not performing the level of work I want, or they aren't a good culture fit, we're taking a risk by letting them go. What would you say to folks that have that reservation?
I think everybody has that. Well, first of all, you might even be friends with them, right? It's possible that, or there are people that's friends there, but um, whenever it's a cancer, everybody knows it, whether they admit it or not. If they have somebody that's in that category, and I think every time that we've done that, and it's not very often, the when we look back at it, it was like we should have done that a long time ago because there's always room for improvement, and usually if you get rid of the cancer, the rest of the body flourishes. So you could tie that to the physical if you want to, but no, do it sooner than later. Better off don't hire them in the first place, but we'll make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
And a
good.
lot of
That's
people,
a good word.
yeah, a lot of people will improve too. So I think from a work perspective, a lot of people can improve, but if the culture isn't there, that's the problem.
Yeah, I always stand by culture over skills because skills can be taught, but culture, it's so hard, especially if you've made it through a couple of months and the culture still, you can tell it's not jiving. Uh,
Right.
it's really hard to change a personality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, great. So you mentioned Gary, for example, and a few other folks that have had an impact. Do you have any other mentors that you either currently look up to or have been a big influence in the past?
Yeah, so I did mention Gary. Great vision, great leadership. His strong point would be a visionary. My father was he was a plumber, and he taught me hard work and work ethic. We have discussions about, but sometimes I would be called a workaholic, but that come from my father, and hard work. You can do it right and work hard, or don't do it. And so that come from my father. Um, it's really neat to see young kids today that have that strong work ethic. There's some that don't, and some that do, and it's really exciting to see, because if they come in with a good attitude and a good work ethic, they're probably going to go. They're probably going to advance in our company, 2 to 3 times faster than the person that doesn't. And others out there, just the people I associate with. Seth, Jeff King and Bart Hoblet, and of course Brett's younger, the owner now, but Jeff and Bart and I have worked together for years, so we've always learned from each other as we went through.
That's great. I think it is really important who you associate with and who you're spending time with. I've heard it said that you are the average of the 10 people you spend the most time with. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
true, but I think that's that's really good. And I think it also speaks to what you said earlier about the power of tapping into the network. If you have great team members on the team who they know, they're probably going to be a lot like them. They're hanging
right.
folks that share some of those similar values and traits. So
Just so I don't get in trouble, then a supportive wife is really great. So I love her for supporting me through the years. So there, did I check a box there, didn't
you did, and I do
I?
agree that is really really important as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, excellent. Do you have any daily rituals or routines that you find to be really important? Maybe how you start your day or end your day, or something you always make sure you do.
I do. After coffee, you mean, right?
Sure. Yes. Well, you have to have the coffee.
So I'm an old guy, so I still use what they make fun of me in here. They call it my geek book, but I have a task list and a calendar book, and every morning that has to be updated. So I try to do it the night before for the next day, to transfer check off my to-do list, transfer the next day my to-do list. So some of those are daily to-dos or something that has to be done tomorrow, and some of them are big picture things. So I continue to move those day to day, but um, it's laying right here beside me, and it's just a Franklin Covey planner, and I don't use it like they teach it. Some people do it electronically. No, my to-do list. And if I get behind on that, you feel frantic, and it's like I got so much to do, I can't get it all done. And if you write it down and prioritize it, your stress level goes way down. You're like, well, that's not too bad. I've already get behind a couple days of transferring my to-do list, and it's just like, okay, stop everything and get it reorganized and prioritized, so that you can work on them one thing at a time, and get them done. And so that's probably my number one recommendation. I have guys that some guys that use sticky notes. Some people do it electronically. Not a big fan of sticky notes, but a task list and a to-do list is the key to success for getting your job done. I even promote it in the field with our foreman. They have all these guys on the job and all this stuff to do, and it's like, if you don't have it written down in a task list and prioritized, you're going to just feel like you're flailing. So.
It seems like such a simple thing, but I totally agree. I found that makes all the difference. It kind of reminds me of that saying, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time."
Yeah.
If you have a strategy and a plan, and you have it written down, or if you're using it electronically, One thing I found that I do, there was a book called Eat That Frog. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but they recommended putting the task that you least want to do, that maybe is the most daunting or requires the most energy, but it's the most important, put that right at the top of the list rather than, you might have 10 things to do and nine of them are small, easy things, and you want to just check those off really quick, but then you never get around to eating the frog. So putting the
The
frog
lo-
first.
the longer you procrastinate that, the less likely you are to do it or want to do it, and you stress about it. And if you just knock it out, and it's like, well, that wasn't bad at all.
Yeah.
I agree. That's a great recommendation. The
Um,
other thing that I have, and it's a pet peeve of mine, is
yeah.
don't let your inbox get full.
Mm,
Manage your inbox, otherwise you'll forget to return emails or phone calls, and that's probably one of the things that I push internally here is return phone calls and emails quickly.
yeah, absolutely. That's so critical. And when we have a team member that goes on vacation, we actually assign someone to monitor their inbox while they're gone, so they don't come back to a inbox that's just overflowing with hundreds of
Right,
emails, because then you just feel like you're stuck for a couple of days trying to catch up.
right. Yeah,
And
organization is key to reducing stress level, I can tell you that.
absolutely. And one thing that I do with my inbox, just a little tip for those of you who are struggling with that, is I try to convert emails into tasks. If there's something I open, I have an open at once rule. So if I open the email, I'm going to either deal with it right then, or I'm going to move it on to my task list, and deal. And that way, it's there and it's been prioritized. I know it's going to get done, rather than letting it pile up in my inbox.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Terry, I see the fish behind you. And of course, being big fish local, I always am intrigued by that. Is there a story behind the fish on your wall there?
Yeah, that's my stress relief. So, yeah, that one's probably 20 years old. I need to get another one because that one's starting to dry up and crack, and you can't see the 10-pound walleye on that wall. But I love to fish. I just love fishing. So I got a couple of them. I don't have any other wall space, so I guess I can't hang anymore. But yeah, I spend a lot of time on the water.
Do you have any good fishing stories to share?
That one come out of Lake Cumberland. If you ever like to if you like to striper fish, you don't catch a lot, but when you catch them, you remember it. Spend a lot of time on Lake Erie in the summertime, getting ready to go up there for a 2-week vacation and with friends, and it's just my getaway. My family likes it. My dad taught me to fish when I was young, took me on fishing trips, so um, it's just a lot of fun. It's a challenge too, because people ask me if I like to hunt, and I say, yeah, I like to hunt fish because you have to find fish to catch them, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. I have great memories of fishing with my dad growing up, and then every year we take at least one, sometimes two trips to Florida to visit my parents, and often we'll get a chance to go fishing when we're together. So actually, we'll be down there in just a few weeks, and hopefully, we'll get a chance to hunt some redfish.
we have a group of guys. We have a charter booked in New Jersey Labor Day weekend. There's a group of 6 of us going over there, and we're going over looking for the big tuna fish. So
Nice.
we're going out on the boat for 24 hours. It's a 24-hour charter. I think I'm going to sleep. I don't know about some of the younger guys, but I'm actually taking a couple people from the company as a thank you for some of the work they've been doing with us too. So that's kind of exciting.
That's awesome. I love that. So fishing's pretty relaxing. Have you ever done anything really crazy? An experience that's just been a little exciting or outside the norm for you?
Not really. My wife has bungee jumped. That's not me. I haven't done that. Water ski, just a water bug. Water skied and fished is my exciting things. I farm a little bit. I'm a hobby farmer. My dad has a farm, and so that's kind of a de-stressor to go get in a tractor and farm, raising corn and soybeans. So um, as if I don't have enough to do, I get between fishing and work, and I get a farm too. But we enjoy that. I got a couple friends that do it, and we help each other, and that it's just a lot of fun. And then you can watch the grain prices and try to decide. It's like playing the stock market. When do I sell my grain and when don't I?
Absolutely. Well, as we're kind of winding down, I was curious, do you have any colleagues or partners that you really respect in the industry or that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Um, I have a couple. As a company, we have quite a few. So if I start naming them, I would probably miss some of them. But personally, just from when I was in sales and relationships I've built, um, Jeff King at Ferguson Construction in Dayton, long time relationship. We do a lot of work together. Became friends as we worked together. Steve Bruns from Bruns General Contracting in Tip City. Known him for a long time. We've worked for that company for a long time, and um, we show up at each other's office and just walk in. We don't need introduced at either one of those facilities, and it's just neat to build friendships and then to watch other people that are working under me are developing those friendships. Like Ryan is also, works for those two companies, and then um, he's added Miller Valentine, as doing some work with them, and then Thatcher Deaton in our office is working with the Danuses, and it's just neat seeing those guys build those relationships. Kenny Knight with the wind companies here in Dayton, and it's just neat to see that because people do business with people they like, right?
That's right.
So you become friends and you do business with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've got one last question, but before I ask it, I just want to point people to your website, www.garberelectric.com, if you'd like to learn more about Garber and all of the work they do. A slogan I often hear from some of your team members is one company, many solutions. And there are really a lot of different things that Garber is involved in. So I really would encourage you to check it out, and you can meet some of the team on there. There's some great videos on the employment section that kind of talk about that company culture. Are there any other resources, Terry, that you would direct people to or invite them to check out?
Check out the website built by you, Seth. Thank you. If you have any questions, my email's on there. Reach out to me, tcool@garberelectric.com. Um, like you said, we got many, not just electrical, all the low voltage solutions, the solar. And if you know somebody looking for a job with a little experience preferred, if not, still apply. You'll see the big red banner on there that they have on there. And yeah, check us out.
That sounds good. All right. Well, here's the final question. So let's pretend we're at an awards banquet like the Oscars or the Emmys, and you're being awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award for everything you've done up until this point. So the question is this: what would the award be for, and who would you thank for it?
What would the award be for? So from a company perspective, it would be for doing things the right way. Yeah, doing what you say, meeting schedules, being fair and honest and open and transparent about with everybody you work for and with. Um, what was the second part of the question?
Who would you be thanking for that award?
Oh my. It would have to be my spouse for standing behind me, and then the coworkers that help make it happen. People I've worked with through the years and still continue to work with. Without a supporting role of good people, I wouldn't be anything. So
I love it. This has been a great theme throughout this whole episode, is that it really all comes down to the people, you know?
it does.
I
It
think
does.
that's really a good highlight there. Well, we've been talking with Terry Cool, who is the vice president of Garber Electric, and he has tons of experience in this field. And I just want to say thank you so much, Terry, for joining us. It's just been a real pleasure having you on the show.
Great. I appreciate you asking me.
All right, we'll see you next time.
All right. See you, Seth.
Thanks for listening to the Home Pro Podcast. Be sure to click subscribe to be notified of future episodes. We'll see you again next time.